Hey folks, I'm Vasel. Today we're taking a look at 7 different games here. 6 of them good and 1 of them trash. You'll never figure out which one that is. So let's get started. Here we go. The Lie is a small card game from DeVere. Very suspicious of this one I was, because DeVere just hasn't really done a good job with their small card games. It's a 20-minute card game that is, hey, you're grabbing cards off the table and they might be telling the truth or not. Let me show you. The point in this game is every card lies. If this card here says it's a red 4, it's actually a yellow 4. If this card says it's a red 1, it's actually a blue 1. Here's another red 4, it's a red 1. Part of it's the truth. So this is red, it's just the wrong number. This one is the right number, but the wrong color. So what you'll do, simultaneously at the same time, everybody is picking cards from here and adding them to their hand. I got a red card, so when I add a new card to my hand, it goes to the front or the back. Okay, that's not so shabby. All right, there's a blue card. I'll try to get a blue. Oh, well, I can put that one over here. And you keep doing that till you have 12 cards in your hand. Once all the cards are picked, whoever went out first, whoever got their 12 cards first goes first. And you can play any cards from your hand that have the same color, 1, 2, or 3 cards. But they have to be next to each other. So I can't play this red and one of these reds. So I might lead off with the blue, and then someone else will have to play a higher number than me. So I played a 1, they could play a 3, but the next person could play a 21. Each person can go around once. Whoever plays the highest number will lead off. If you can't play a higher number, you have to pass. So maybe in the future when I lead, I might be like, I'm playing 342. Try to beat that one. And it's possible to beat that. Anyhow, you're trying to get rid of all the cards in your hand. If you get rid of all the cards in your hand first, you're going to get to take some cards here in the middle as points. You get to pick which of the cards are, but these are the points that you get. Well, that was 6 points. So, we'll see. And you keep these secret. You play several rounds, and after several rounds, whoever has the most points is the winner of the game. This is surprisingly fun. My only problem with The Lie is that it is the scoring. I'm not so sure in the scoring. I think you always draw 4 cards because, yes, they could be another number underneath, but there's a 50% chance there are 4 on them when drawing for scoring points. So I'm not sure how I think about scoring. I think you should just get 3, 2, 1. But the rest of it is like a ladder climbing game that you're building your hand during the game, and it's fun. You're like, ooh, I need a green card. Well, I'll draw this green card. I'll draw this green 3, because if it's a 3 and it's a different color, I can stick it at the other end of my hand, and if it's green, I can stick it at this end. It's very simple, very cute. I like this one a lot. Other than the scoring system, nice little card game, 7 out of 10, The Lie. Betty bought a bit of butter. Or actually, in this case, it's Betty bought some butter. But she said this butter's bitter. This is a game of tongue twisters. Right now, you can tell if you like the game or not. Do you like tongue twisters? Yay! If you don't, run the other way. In this game, there is a deck of cards with arrows. You shuffle them so the arrows are pointing in different directions. You'll draw a card, and then the next person has to say it. Aluminum linoleum. If you mess up, according to the judge, well, then you take the card. Then the next person will draw a card, and they can put it on either side. So maybe they put it on this side. Now I have to read it this way. Irish wristwatch, Swiss wristwatch, aluminum linoleum. I'm not doing so hot here. Again, going this way. Irish wristwatch, Swiss wristwatch, aluminum linoleum, shriek, squeak, squawk, and squeak. And then, now I'm reading it this way. Sheena leads, Sheila needs. Shriek, squeak, squawk, and squeak. Aluminum linoleum, Irish wristwatch, Swiss wristwatch. And sometimes there's cards like this. You skip and go to the next person. 3 free throws. The epitome of femininity. Whew. Here you can get rid of a penalty card that you've collected because you're trying to have the least. Bake big batches of brown blueberry bread. Anyway, when someone gets a certain number of cards, the game ends, and whoever has the fewest cards is the winner. Yeah, there's really not a lot of reason for me to even have shown you how to play it. That's what it is. We played this one live on the Dice Tower, too. Shockingly, I like it, but I do like tongue twisters. I like laughing. It's silly. It's a little loose because the judge is determining it, but basically as a crowd, you will say, yeah, you messed up to somebody. And yeah, you just play, and it's... The only thing I might say about this one is I don't know how often you're going to play this. This is like a almost like a youth group game or a schoolroom game or a family get-together game. But I still have a soft spot for this one, 7 out of 10. Typewriter. Ding. Typewriter is from Wordmasters Tim Fowers, Jeff Beck, and Sky Larson, who have done some really great word games, the most famous being Paperback, mixed with other mechanisms. And that is what Typewriter is. Talking about the old typewriter, the thing I actually learned to type on one of these. Let's take a look at the game. In this game, each player has a typewriter. You can play with the standard sides where they're all the same, or play with a specific one that just the symbols will be different on them. Each player will also start with 4 basic letters, R, S, and T, and then you get a couple other letters, and there'll be a word out here, including a vowel. So the game essentially is, hey, I'm making a word with my letters. So maybe here I'm going to do revest. All right, so I can use this E that's up here. So my word is revest. I'm going to count the points on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's in the top corner, the points. So that's 8. And so I'm going to move my track down here to the number 8. After I do that, a couple things. So I fill the meter. I can use the meter. I can go all the way back to 0. And then I can use 1 green thing that I went by, 1 purple, and 1 yellow. Since yellow's at the end, you're only going to be able to do that if you get to the very end. And purple, you don't get to on this one to 11. Although, like I said, that's going to change where the things are on different boards, possibly. So I am going to use the meter. One of the main things you might want to do with the meter, and I can't do it till I get here, is bank a key. And that means I'm going to take one of the keys I used and put it in bank, which means it's out of my pool, but it's going to score at the end of the game. I can also star a key, which moves it over here, which will give you the stars that are on the top of the key as additional points. If I don't bank a key or anything, I'm going to turn over every letter that I used in the word, which might change what they are, changes a couple of them to wilds. And I'm also going to choose one of these letters from the middle to add to my pool. As you take letters, some letters, when you flip them over, are going to give you abilities. This one, for example, I can spend into my turn to flip another key in my pool. This one says make a key wild this turn. There's also going to be event cards, reverse play order for the rest of the game. It's kind of a really boring event. If your word has 4 more keys with a value of 1, fill your meter by 3. And then, of course, different symbols here. You can claim some temporary wilds to use in your word and do various things. And you're going to play several rounds, and at the end of the rounds, whoever has the most points wins. Remember, points coming from banked letters, and then even better, starred ones. I like Typewriter, but I do want to warn you that Typewriter is a game that is going to be a bit divisive, I think, because the game is not particularly easy to explain. The whole thing is, you make a word. Everyone gets that part. Making a word, and you have all these different letters and things, and then you score, but you're scoring, you move up this thing, and then you come down it, and then you're banking letters, and then you're starring those. And I can teach it pretty well now, but I will say that if I'm playing with a bunch of people, and some people love word games, they still might not like Typewriter. And I'm also just a teensy bit wondering if some of the tile special abilities might be too powerful. Like I had one that let me just bank letters. That's pretty powerful, and I don't have to really earn those letters. But I mean, again, I might be wrong, because in that same game, I did lose to a person who was better at making words than me. And that's what it comes to at the end of the day. So this is not nearly as good as paperback or hardback, but it is an interesting game. You've not played anything like it, and the components are stellar. For a game this size, I was very impressed with how it came out. And so if you like word-building games and you want some interesting new ideas to try, I think Typewriter is going to do it for you. And I think the replayability is there too. So this is a 7 out of 10 for me, Typewriter. Builders of Babel. Now, don't get me wrong if you're confused about how many different Babel games out there. So am I. I bet the guys who built the Tower of Babel never suspected it would be the theme of so many board games. This is a dexterity game. You're going to be building blocks and trying not to make them fall. Here's how it plays. Here's the base, the foundation, and then here's a bunch of blocks of various shapes and sizes. On a player's turn, they are drawing a card, and it's going to tell them the shape and the color. Well, the color here is yellow, and it says 4, but all yellow blocks are 4. That's just the way to remember it. So you're going to take a yellow block and place it somehow on the floor here. This card says new floor. There's different types of cards that you might get. Many will say new floor. Some will say cantilever, which means part of your thing must extend outside the border. While other ones that you might get might say border, which means you need to stay in the border. So you have to take one of these. That's not so hard. Look at that. I'm in the border. Then we have pinnacle. When you draw a pinnacle, you take one of these and place it on the highest level. Sometimes you're lucky. Reverse just goes to the next person in reverse order. Or divine intervention, you get rid of one of your punishment cards. See, as you're placing blocks, at some point, you're going to make it fall. When you make it fall, any pieces that you make fall, you'll get in front of you as punishment pieces. You're going to lose a point or get a point for each of these, and points are bad. But you also draw a punishment card. Now, there's all sorts of punishment cards. You can pre-build this deck, so if you don't like something, like this one, you have to turn your head to the side when you put it down. Do not bend your arms and elbows. Use only your index and middle finger from then on. Politely ask permission from another player before placing a block. And if there's any of these that you don't like this one here, your chin must touch a table, that's too hard, in my opinion. So I would take that out of my deck, and you can kind of make this deck. You also decide at the beginning how hard of a game you want to play, and you keep an eye on it, and if anyone goes over a certain threshold, they also have to draw punishment cards. So you're going to keep going until you go through the deck, and at that point, you will compare the number of blocks, and you want to have the fewest ones that have fallen on your turn. That player wins. I can see some folks a little concerned with this game because the punishment cards, but like I said, to me, that would have been annoying, but since you can modify that punishment deck, I'm okay with it. Punishment cards for people who mess up, and punishment cards for people who are doing too well. Works pretty well. The blocks are a really nice quality. It's kind of fun to build them up there. And this game, even though you're going through that deck of cards, plays pretty quickly. You can see all the blocks on the table, and they're all eventually going to be on that tower. There's not many you play. And the fact that you can always go out of bounds if you want to, but some cards force you to, some cards force you to stay inside. It can be tricky and fun. You got to take this game with a grain of salt, and then you'll have a good time with it. I like this one. This is from Tower Tactics, which is Simon's branch over in Thailand. And yeah, it's a pretty neat game. So that's Builders of Babel, 7 out of 10. Valkyries is a game unlike anything I've played before because this is a competitive game, but everyone is writing on a board, moving their Valkyries around and fighting off different creatures. You can even create your own campaign, it says there, but you're learning how to fight throughout the game. Let me show you. The game progressively gets more rules heavy, but I'm going to just mention here kind of basic mode. Each of you starts in the corner in this basic mode. You have a deck of 15 cards with a wild card at the bottom. You'll draw 3 cards. There's going to be some monster cards up here. You can see what monster cards are coming, but one monster is the active monster. Here, the Frost Giants are active. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to play 2 cards from my hand. The first card is moving. So this is my character up here, and I can move to a spider. So I can move here, or I could move to a Frost Giant, going here, or I can move to a demon, going all the way down there, or all the way down there. So let's say I move to the demon. So I come all the way down here. Now I move through one of the active monsters. So when that happens, you're going to have to cross off one of your hearts here. You don't want to take damage. You don't want to die. So that's pretty important. So I took 1 damage there. You then will play a second card and attack everyone that's next to you. So here, I'm going to circle both of these Frost Giants. Everything in the 8 spaces around you will be attacked. And now they're gone. And then I'll draw 2 more cards. And after you move and attack, if you're next to the active monsters, they're going to hit you. But I've circled them, so they are gone. So you're going to keep going and play through all your cards. Last turn, you only play the wild card. You draw the wild card. And everything that you've circled on the board gets you a victory point. And whoever has the most victory points is the winner. As you go through, there'll be more challenge. You'll find cool weapons that you'll be able to use that will give you special abilities to attack things farther behind. And then there's a game campaign where you can play through with various maps and different scenarios. But you can play through any of these and mix and match the stuff that you want. Valkyries has a great how to play thing because you have the map and the main rules of the game right there. You flip the page, there's more rules to the next one and so on. So we played through the book going through each of those games. I don't know that the more complex games really change much, although it is neat to have your own weapon. Like when I land, I can hit stuff that's 2 away. I like that sort of stuff a lot. And there's a little bit of luck in drawing up the cards, but you're sitting there. As stuff gets circled off the board, when you move through that. So eventually you can move pretty far. You're moving around the board. You jump over other Valkyries where they might be standing. You have to be careful not to die. The game you always want to make sure you have cards. That active monster, you can see the active monsters coming up. So you might be like, I need one of those so that I can kill them if I'm next to them. And that's interesting. So there's a bit of strategy to this, a bit of tactics, but it's mostly kind of just playing and seeing what happens. But the way it works feels very unique, something different than I've seen before. And also, I think it scales pretty well. You can play 2 to 4 pretty easily. And it's not a very long game. And also, did I mention some pretty cool artwork on it? So I like Valkyries, a 7.5. La, 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 Smurfs, the Hidden Village. Now, of course, nowadays, when we see an intellectual property game, we will think, I don't want to play this game because it's probably bad. And you're usually correct. But what made me interested in this one here was because the designers of this game, oh yeah, here they are in the front. I'm looking for them. Antoine Bauza, Corentin Lebrat, Ludovic Malblanc, and Theo Riviera. I like these guys. They're great designers. So seeing them on the box of this made me say, it's probably good. Well, let's find out. In this game, players have to build all these houses. So this one would cost 3 wood and 2 stone. You have to build a house. You have to bake all the cakes on an easy level. There's just 2 cakes here. Each cake has a prerequisite. This one says have built 4 inventions. And you have to rescue all the Smurfs from the Lost Forest. There's a bunch of starting Smurfs in the game, and they're all terrible. Vanity Smurf, we all know how awful he is. Slouchy Smurfling, Harmony Smurf. And these are starting Smurfs. On a player's turn, you'll notice that there's 8 Smurfs up here. You have to play a card. These are negative. So I'll play Slouchy Smurfling. He says, if this Smurf gathers goods, gather 1 less. I play that card. Now I can place this Smurf on one of these spots on the board. And just like in real life, I'm going to remove all these houses. They're supposed to be on the board, but we remove them because they block everything. But there's different spots on the board that you can go to and send a Smurf. So for example, I could put this Smurf here. Nothing happens. When a second person puts a Smurf there, we will now get 3 berries. Or I can just try to get 2 berries now, but I have to roll the danger die. This is the danger die normally, but you can also play a harder game with a harder danger die. So you'll roll whichever die it is. This one makes everyone lose a resource, and this moves Azrael the cat. And when Azrael the cat's at a location, you have to roll his thing. Well, that's not bad. It gives you an extra resource, but that's usually not going to be the case with the cat. So the resources that you collect, and you can see here that there is stone, berries, wood, cupcakes. These things are resources that you will collect, and they're a group for the whole village. No one has them in particular. So all these ones on the side here, this is collecting different resources than wood, berries, and stone. Over here, the workshop where you can build inventions. And you can see there's different inventions here. They cost berries. Some of them are new spots to place workers, and some are one-time uses. Then there is the Smurf shelter. That's where you can build, put a Smurf and get rid of these starting Smurfs because they're garbage, putting them into shelters. You want to also go rescue Smurfs up here in the dark forest. If you do that, you'll draw better Smurfs, architect Smurfs. If this Smurf builds a house, rescue Smurf for free. Smurf Willow, Sassette, Brainy Smurf, Dopey Smurf. There's all kinds of ones in here. Hey, look, Papa Smurf. Take any one Smurf card from the discard pile and add it to your hand. This person just gathers 2 berries. So they're better Smurfs, and you have to rescue all of them as one of the game conditions. That's pretty much the game. You're going to be taking turns going around. When all 8 of these Smurfs have been placed, and the danger die and other things will sometimes make this bird catch them. So some of them will be stuck there. In an easy game, you get them back, or you have to take actions in a harder game to pull them back yourself. But when they're all taken, then it's Gargamel's turn, and for him, we just draw this top card and do what it says. Azrael's always going to move, and then here, if there's an event, Smurfs can't be placed at Azrael's location this time. If we run out of Gargamel cards, the game will end. So that's kind of like a timer on the game. And that's a little bit about how you play. Yeah, so this game is good. There's a couple issues I have. The houses were a pain in the neck to put together. And you take the roof out when you build them and put it back on the outside. They take up 90. This box barely closes because of those stupid houses. I think I would like the game a whole point better if those houses weren't in it. They also block the view on the board, pain in the neck. The game feels interesting. You're taking a worker, putting them out, and playing a card. At first, those cards are negative cards, like that one you saw. Take one less resource. You're like, So you try to play the one that affects you the least. And you can do that, but as you start rescuing Smurfs, you get better and better cards, and you can start chucking, as you build houses, the really annoying starting Smurfs. So that's all really good. I also really like that the game is very customizable in the sense of you can play on easy level. This game is super easy. And you know what? For a lot of people, that's good. But you can easily make it harder by adding in a that red danger die. And you have to get more cakes out there. So all this comes in. It's also very thematic. I always liked the Smurfs a little. I don't love them. But I've always liked them a little. And this game feels like a Smurfy game. A Smurfing good time. So there's a lot going on in it. I think it's a game that shows some stuff from more modern cooperative games. But if you've not played a lot of cooperative games together, this is also a good entry into that series. So a 7 out of 10, The Smurfs Hidden Village. I am done. Now, you might think that the name of this is reminiscent of what's in the box, and you would be correct. On the back of it, it says, this game is especially silly. If you take it seriously, then it's your own fault. Sure, but you can't justify badness with a quote on the back of the box. You can't tell me we're going to be bad. Anyway, let's just take a look at how the game plays. In this game, you will either draw a card or play a card. This is broccoliism. Every player draws cards until everyone has the same number of cards in hand, starting with you. Well, I'm not going to play that right now. Here is I Spy. Ask someone for a specific card in their hand. Okay. M. Well, this is great. Why do I want this card? Because I am trying to play cards in front of me that say I am, and then done. Although this one, somebody else would have to have played that one in front of me. So there's lots of different cards in the game. Discard all cards from the player of one area. Kingmaker. If you play this card, the player on your left wins the game. This card is just useless. This card protects you from actions you don't want to take. Everyone shuffles their hand and plays one at random. Draw as many cards as you have in your hand. So beautiful. All ladies may draw cards in their hand until they draw a gold card. Everyone passes cards to the left. My game, my rules. If you own the game, draw 5 cards. Copy the thing. If you play this card, you lose the game and are eliminated. And there are some more I am done cards in the game. But that is basically, there are so many different weird cards in this game. Here's Chaos. Discard a card from play. Here's Lucky You. Give a card from your hand to one other player. Sometimes when you draw a card, you will have to immediately, look at this one. It's the same back as this front. I guess it's just, again, useless. As you play these cards, sometimes it will have an exclamation point, and you have to play it from your hand. There's Spirits, I Summon You. Done. This card is junk. My son laughed for about 2 minutes straight when he drew that card, even though I think it wasn't that great. So that's kind of what's in this deck. There's even a card that if you tear it up, you win the game. So this card is the Pink Elephant. This one here, you can't win the game if it's in your hand. If you make it disappear, then you can still win the game. And you can make it disappear any way you want, including destroying it. And the Holy Hand Grenade, if you play this card, you have to rip it up. And I thought, And then inside the box, there's an envelope with more Holy Hand Grenades and more Pink Elephants. So there's always one in the deck, or at least until you run out of it, or till you just die. I hate everything about this game. This one gets a 2 out of 10 from me. And the only reason it gets a 2 is because I was amused that when you rip the card up, they had replacements for it, which reminded me of the old comic where the Schroeder had extra Beethoven things to put on his piano when he played. But it's terrible. There's nothing good about this game. You draw cards, it's all random. I hate it so very much. That being said, let me offer you here a quick rebuttal from my son. All right, Jimmy, why do you like I Am Done? It's a terrible game.
It's funny. everything does stupid things that make it funny. There's even cards that make the game automatically end the game.
Yeah, but that's dumb. This game is stupid. You have to agree on that, right?
Barely.
So you like it. Out of 10, what would you give it?
A 9.
What on earth? Folks, I'm giving this game a 2 out of 10, like I said earlier. And yet, I'm keeping it. My family loves it. They really do. I cannot fathom. I have brought my family the greatest games ever made in the history of board gaming, which they find to be enjoyable. And yet, they still want to keep this one. So, hey, it's up to you. This might work for you. I imagine for many viewers, you're not interested in this one at all. I got to play this again tonight. All right, anyway, I am done. All right, folks, there you go. 6 good games. 6 games that I would imagine many of you have not even heard of, and then one that you probably never want to hear of. And yet, I don't want to talk about this. I'm keeping that game. All right. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Hey, if you enjoy our stuff, check out, you can support the Dice Tower right now. We have a donation drive running at supportdicetower.com. And then you can see more of us putting out these videos all year long. And you get some cool promos and other things while you're at it. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm Tom Vasel. We'll see you next time here on the Dice Tower. Hey folks, thanks for watching another one of our videos. If you like our videos, if you like our channel, you would love to game with us at one of our conventions. Check out Dice Tower Cruise, Dice Tower East, and Dice Tower West. Fantastic conventions where we play games with wonderful people, a humongous library, and lots of other events and stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our channel, like and subscribe. I'm Tom Vasel.